What is up, guys? Thanks for joining another episode of Cars, Bikes, and Coffee. I am Kurt, and we've been working on a 1973 Datsun 240Z. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to be taking a look at BlueDriver Automotive Multimeter by Lemur Vehicle Monitors and do an unboxing and a product review. Stay tuned. So we're taking a look at the BlueDriver Automotive Multimeter, and this is by Lemur Vehicle Monitors. You might have seen one of their OBD2 readers. They have an app and some other diagnostic equipment. So we're going to take a look at this multimeter, open it up, and take a look. You can find this on Amazon for $39.95 with Prime shipping, and that's in the US. So let's open it up and take a look. So it comes with a carrying case. It's nice. And we have a user manual. Instructions are very clear, and kind of the overview of the specs of the multimeter. You know, this one does tachometer or RPM, does dwell, obviously AC voltage, DC voltage, and both AC DC current. We can check for capacitance, frequencies, duty cycle, pulse width, continuity, and as well temperature. And we have our testing probes. And those are of really nice length, about 3 feet or so, and it's a soft plastic, so nice grip and feel. And we have our test probe for checking temperature. This will come in handy for checking water temp, I believe surface temp. I don't see why that couldn't work, and of course, you know, oil temperature. That's nice. An Energizer battery, so it's not one of the cheap Chinese batteries. And then of course some Alligator Clips for our test leads. That's nice. And finally we have the multimeter. All sealed packaging. Has a little kickstand. And as well a magnet, so you could put it on your hood or some other item to keep it in your field of view. So let's get a screwdriver and we'll put in the battery. Now while we have that open, you'll see we have some basic fuses, and these fuses are in case they blow, and you can get those at any local hardware store. But we're going to go ahead and install the battery. Alright, so now we can go ahead and remove there's a display protector, and then go ahead and plug in our test leads. Black of course goes to common, and for doing some initial voltage testing, we'll plug that into the third plug, which is for RPM, voltage, dwell, impedance, and whatnot. So now let's take a look at our options when turning it on. When it turns on to voltage, you can select using the select button to be AC current or DC. So testing with our battery from our drill, we have about 20.27 volts. We test with our fluke meter, and we're about 20.21 volts. Now when we go to the next selection, which is ohms, capacitance, diode drop, testing for that, and also testing for continuity, you use the select button and that changes mode. So in this case, it's set to resistance, and we have that. If we use a screwdriver, so that shows the resistance. Switching to hertz, we can measure frequencies, and that's still within these same settings. So, you know, for example, 120 volts is 60 hertz, roughly. You can see that there. So I'm just plugging this into the outlet. Next selection is temperature. And with that, we can choose from Celsius to Fahrenheit. And we're gonna wanna change our probe, of course. And in this case, we're using the T-, which is the COM or the common, and the T+, which is the second red plug. And that shows our surface temperature, or we can of course put this in fluid to check temperature for that. Next setting is dwell, and that's where we can measure the dwell angle of the breaker points. And that you would use, of course, the black for common and the red in the V terminal. And the next one is RPM. Now this one you can do change the stroke for a 4-stroke engine, like a typical vehicle engine, or even a 2-stroke. And that's where you're selecting range. Now, in the case where you see here times 10 RPM, if you go over 10,000 RPMs, then you would want to switch to this function. But if you're staying with a typical vehicle, then the RPM is perfect. The next measurement we can do is current, and if you have a test that you want to do that's below 600 milliamps, then you would want to switch to the MAT+ port, the second one, and you can do your test. If you need to go anything over 600 milliamps but under 20 amps, then you would use the first port that's marked 20A. And then of course switch to the 20 amp setting for current. And the final selection here is measuring high current with a current clamp, and that's not included with the set, so you'll have to purchase that separately. And of course you can select AC or DC for that. For the clamp, you would just want to get in touch with BlueDriver for the correct one to use. Now you can see how we have a few more buttons here. We have hold, max, min, peak, and CV that we haven't used. Basically what those are for, you can hold whatever the measurement is, so while you're measuring something you can press and hold it, and that will keep that measurement on the display. You also have max, min, which you cycle through, which will give you the maximum voltage. Let's say you're measuring and it will maintain that, or you can switch to min and show you what the minimum voltage or whatever you're measuring. And then as well you can do peak, which will show you whatever your peaks are for your high and low in what you're measuring. Now this has a feature for non-contact voltage, so when you press and hold this, a green light will light up here, and you hold the button down and hold it near high voltage, such as this outlet, it blinks red and flashes. Another feature of this, which I kind of like, is if you get into a dark space in the car or underneath the car, and I'm going to pull the lights to show, but there is an automatic backlight to the display, and as well, if you notice, the dial also has a light, so it lights up so you can see where you're pointing it to. So now it's time for my overall thoughts on this multimeter. For under 40 bucks, to be honest, you can't go wrong. This is a good overall quality for what you're paying for. You know, the plastic feels good. It's not as maybe hard as a more expensive product, but it's not flimsy in any way. You know, the contacts go in really well and they seat well and tight, and the wire that's used isn't cheap at all. It doesn't feel cheap either. My only concern that I have with this is the instructions that somebody that might be going through this might get confused on. It does explain very well the specifications. Now on the Amazon page that I'll link down below to purchase this multimeter is a PDF that's embedded for the more updated instruction manual. That one is very clear. It shows different ways to test the RPMs on whether you're using a carbureted car or a fuel injected or even a small engine type. Now the instruction manual is fine, it works, you can get a good idea, especially if you've used one of these before. You kind of know what you're going to use, but for the first time user I would definitely download the one that is on the Amazon page. I would definitely recommend this automotive multimeter for the home mechanic.
So there you have it, the BlueDriver Automotive Multimeter. It's a great buy. For 40 bucks, you have a well-rounded multimeter, which you really need in your toolbox. It's just like a socket set or a screwdriver. So thanks so much for watching. If you like what you see, consider subscribing. We'll do a little bit more coverage on the 240Z. We do have that 260Z that I've been teasing you about. We're going to get started on that. We have been working a little bit already behind the scenes, but thanks so much for watching. Have a good one.